going on, PokeMoshPit NVZ here, and I'm bringing you the first installment in my new series on the MoshPit, the beginner's guide to Wi-Fi battling. Welcome to this first episode in which I'm going to teach you what happens when you finish the in-game. So, you've beaten the Elite Four, and that's great. I mean, you got your team, you know, you're all really high levels, you know, you've got your level 80 legendary, you got your level 75 starter and all that crap, your flyer, whatever. But you want to play online. Now, there is a big difference when you enter the online competitive community, because your in-game pokes, not gonna last, not at all, because there are quite a few reasons for this. First of all, competitive play is completely different to in-game play, and you know, the sort of pokes that you're using are gonna be pretty similar, but a lot of them are, you know, aren't really gonna be as good as they are in-game, due to different reasons because of levels and such. And that's a main point that I'm going to come back to right now, because online levels don't matter. Not at all. Levels really don't matter. When you go onto the Wi-Fi, when you've logged onto Wi-Fi, you'll see that there is a level 100 singles option, and this basically means that all the guys in your team will be automatically put up to level 100. So it doesn't actually matter what level they are. So you could have a level 1 guy go online but up to level 100, and it doesn't actually matter, because as soon as the battle is done, your guys revert back to their original levels anyway, so it's just for a short duration of the time that they're going to be level 100, if you see what I mean. So what I'm going to do for this first episode is, just in case people, you know, don't want to, you know, go through the whole process of building an online team and stuff because they think they don't have enough time or whatever, or they don't think that, you know, they just want to go online and try it out for themselves quickly. I'm going to talk to you about standard rules. Most of the games will have a set of standard rules that the community makes up or is issued out by the games developer, whatever. So the standard rules that were created for pokes online were pretty much made by the players. I mean, Nintendo do kind of have a part in terms of their outside contests. They change up their rules like all the time, so they do kind of different moves to the online community. But the online community rules pretty much go like this. In standard play, the first rule that I'm going to go across is no Ubers. Now what this basically means is that many of the legendaries in the game have really high stats, and this makes them just too powerful for normal play, meaning that they are banned, and these guys are known as Ubers. So you've got things like, well, I'll read off the whole list, I'll put them in the description too, so check that out down there. Mewtwo, Mew, Lugia, Ho-Oh, Latios, Latias, Groudon, Kyogre, Rayquazza, all forms of Deoxys, Garchomp, which I'll come back to, Palkia, Dialga, Manaphy, Giratina, Darkrai, and Arceus, all of its forms, also Wobbuffet and Wynaut. Now, going back to Garchomp, and also Salamence, which is a recent change. Now, these pokes, automatically you wouldn't think, hey, they're legendary, they're Uber, but due to Smogon University, which is the main sort of competitive site on the web, they've decided that these two pokes are far too powerful for standard play, so that they've raised them up to the Ubers tier, even though they're not legendaries in their own right, but they're too powerful for standard play, which is why they've been removed. Now there are some pokes like Jirachi, Celebi, Skymin, who are not considered Uber, and the reason why they're not considered Uber is that their stats and their move pool in general means that they're not as powerful as, say, Mew, and Mew is put in Ubers simply because its move pool is so diverse and it's able to do loads of things that the other three can't. So those three are specifically, although they are legendaries, put in standard play. Another point is the 3 legends of each game, so like the dogs, the birds, the shield things, the flying ghosty waifs things. Yeah, those guys are put in standard play simply because they're not actually that powerful, and in Ubers, I mean, you can still use them in Ubers if you want, but in general, they're not as powerful as things in Ubers, which is why they are allowed in standard play. You will get the occasional asshole who will be like, oh, I don't want to play with legendaries, because they think that legendaries are all good. Just know that their stats are very similar to all the other pokes in OU, and that they are very usable in that standard environment, so don't have any worries about using them. As for the case of Wobbuffet and Wynaut, I'll go into reasons about why they're Uber in maybe later episodes, but just so you know, they have an ability that is quite broken, and also in general, their move set allows them to abuse that ability and pretty much cheaply kill pokes, which is very, very hard to combat in standard play because most things aren't powerful enough to just take that out in one hit. Sleep Clause. Now this one's pretty self-explanatory. It basically means that you can only put one Pokemon on the opposing team to sleep at a time. Now this rule was invented basically because people would abuse sleep quite often, mostly in the case of Breloom. If you don't know, Breloom gets access to a move called Spore, which is a 100% sleep move, meaning it does not miss like Sleep Powder or Hypnosis. And if it was allowed to put things to sleep constantly, then your opponent would literally be able to do nothing. They wouldn't be able to combat it in any way because their pokes would be incapacitated by sleep. So if all 6 pokes were put to sleep, they would be able to do nothing about it. So they'd be done, and that would be them losing the game pretty much. So Sleep Clause is imposed. You're only allowed to put one poke forcibly to sleep. So for instance, if you yourself rest, that doesn't count as Sleep Clause because your opponent hasn't done it to you. It's been done by yourself to yourself, if you know what I mean. So they are still allowed to sleep one of your pokes. So if you put someone to rest but send out another poke and they Hypnosis and hit, for instance, that's still allowed. Even though 2 of you guys are asleep on your team, one was put to sleep by yourself, the other was put to sleep by your opponent, so it doesn't actually matter. Species Clause. Basically, this is really self-explanatory. You can't have 2 of the same guys on the same team, so you can't have 2 Charizards on one team. You can, for instance, have a Charmeleon and a Charizard, but why you'd want Charmeleon in standard play, I don't really know why, but it's not really as powerful and it's not fully evolved, which of course we'll go into those sort of tier things later. But you can do that if you want and have things from the same evolutionary chain. Meaning you can have Gardevoir and Gallade on the same team, but not 2 identical pokes. That's where Species Clause comes in. One-hit KO moves. Now these are very often used in conjunction with, lock-on or whatever in-game, if you do want to use those sort of moves. They really do come down to luck. So one-hit KO moves, even though they're 30% chance to hit, which is pretty low, they're destructive. So things like Fissure, things like Sheer Cold are completely banned from Wi-Fi play. If you use them, the other person will disconnect or just not be happy with you because it's really not something that people want to do on Wi-Fi. So don't do them, don't use them at all. Evasion moves. Now, these moves like Double Team and Minimize are very much down to luck, and what lots of poke players do not like is luck, otherwise known as hacks. Now, hacks is a key term that we'll be using a lot in this guide. It's basically just a term used to talk about luck, and it's the amount of luck that, these moves like Double Team and Minimize cause is the reason why evasion moves are banned. So say for instance you use Double Team and your opponent misses their move, you can use Double Team again and keep using it until you're at +6, and then your opponent has such a slim chance to hit you that it's all based on luck, and you can basically sweep them without having taken a hit because of that luck, which is why all those moves are banned, so don't use those either. No hacks items. Hacks items are specific items in the game which increase the amount of luck that is surrounding your poke, basically. For instance, if you give your Pokemon a Quick Claw, there is a chance that if that activates, you will automatically go first. Now this can be very crucial. Say for instance your opponent has a Jirachi and you have a Shuckle, for instance, let's say, and you're just about to die with your Shuckle, but you have a Quick Claw, and your opponent's about to kill you with an Iron Head. If that Quick Claw activates, you will go first, you'll be able to rest up, and the Iron Head from the Jirachi will not kill you. So by that luck, you will have automatically been able to save your Shuckle. So this is pretty much why these sort of items are banned. The full list will be in the description, but there are things like King's Rock, Quick Claw itself, Scope Lens, Bright Powder, all these sort of things which affect your evasion, your critical hit ratio, whether you go first or not, like Quick Claw, are all going to be affecting the gameplay. Item Clause. Now, some people use this, some people don't. In general, I don't really adhere to it. It kind of varies in the way people do it. Some people say you're only allowed to have one of each item per poke. So say that you had 3 pokes with leftovers, you could only choose one of those to have the leftovers out of your whole 6 in your team. Generally speaking, people nowadays don't adhere to item clause unless someone else wants to do it. But if you do want to do it, you can either do 3 item clause. So say you restrict the other person's team to just 3 of the same items, so they could have 3 focus sashes or 3 leftovers or whatever you want to have. But in general, not many people do adhere to that rule, so kind of a grey area there. It's up to the person who wants to play, so just always make sure you ask the person what sort of item clause they want to play first. So if you do want to play online, please do stick to these rules. I really don't advise going online with a team that you've used in-game, because you'll just get destroyed plain and straight. But if you do want to just quickly get online, see what other people use online, and see what the competitive environment's like, then use these rules, stick by them, and by all means just try and get yourself out there to start with. If not, then stick with the guide, and we'll be back very, very soon. If you enjoyed this video, check out more stuff at Learn to Metagame channel. Otherwise, comment, rate, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.